So, in this day and age, it's hard to not know what's being cancelled means. So, according to Vox, it is a trend of communal calls to boycott a celebrity or whose offensive behavior is perceived as going too far. And boy, do we get a lot of that every day. So, it seems that every time we log onto our social media, new hashtags of like, what's their face is over party is trending worldwide. So you'll be thinking like, uh-oh, what did they say or do this time around? So since its rise to prominence in 2019, it's arguable that there is no other phrase that perfectly captures the zeitgeist of our current social digital reality than cancel culture. So just do a quick Google search of the term and you'll find a plethora of theses, op-eds, and even a psychological analysis studying the phenomenon as a way to understand our current society. So it's a clearly contested concept and one that's met with tons of finger pointing, pontification, and callouts on either side of the spectrum. So basically, it's just a headache of an issue that's gotten so out of hand that even the former US President Barack Obama weighed in on the matter, which we will go more on that later in the video. So, but is cancel culture something we should encourage, or is the current digital climate we are in symptoms of a larger problem to come? So ahead, we dive into the world of cancel culture. Buckle your seat belts, and its potentially worrying ramifications. So, cancel culture is a cultural boycott where it allows marginalized people to seek accountability where the justice system fails. So, according to dictionary.com, cancel culture refers to the popular practice of withdrawing support for public figures and companies after they have done or said something considered objectionable or offensive. So it's basically generalized disgust as being performed on social media in the form of group shaming. So to be cancelled means that a group decides to stop supporting a person, place, or thing based off a perceived or actual transgression. So popular popularly performed online amongst the Generation Z and millennials, where the hidden truth behind cancel culture is that it's always been around. Even though the term itself was created not so long ago, public shaming has been found sprinkled throughout world history and entertainment in more cases than one. So I have a very great example of cancel culture where award-winning author of the Harry Potter series, which is J.K. Rowling, was cancelled for tweeting that she supported Maya Forstater, which supposed to be a researcher with a history of making transphobic comments and spreading harmful rhetoric about the T community in LGBTQ. Also, television host and comedian Ellen DeGeneres was cancelled for being mean, where the allegations range from bad fan encounters, firing someone for looking her in the eye, and playing favorites with where she extended a helping hand, down to executive producers of her show being racist and committing sexual misconduct. So while the list extends for miles, those are just two of the biggest cancelled names in modern media. So the severity of the reason people are cancelled varies among crowd. 2020 has shown light on a lot of dark, overlooked areas and helped the world to see where our deepest faults lie. With the rise of social media, where everything is documented and scrutinized, acts of racism, colorism, sexism, and the like just won't fly like they used to. So, too often, marginalized communities suffered in silence with their oppression. So, but platforms such as Twitter have allowed for a more democratized space in which POCs could now freely express their views, which gives more impact without waiting for their privileged counterparts to catch wind. So now, POCs can let Twitter do their thing and Karens will be effectively brought down. For example, the woman in a video got fired from her job and had her dog taken away from her. So don't forget the number of celebrities and Don't forget the number of celebrities and being cancelled for their racist acts, such as Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon's blackface, J.K. Rowling's anti-trans tweets, and many more. So, cancel culture has been incredibly effective at combating wrongdoing, especially sexism and racism. It demands a social change and addresses many inequalities. So, in 2016, many members of the film community boycotted the Oscars because of the lack of diversity among the nominees. And canceling the Oscars resulted in real social change. Just a few years ahead, in 2019, the Oscars set a record for the most wins black nominees ever. A community that unites against someone who has done something unforgivable can be very empowering. It can also make people think twice before behaving inappropriately or posting potentially offensive views. But there are also negative effects resulting from cancel culture itself. Yeah, we're going to get a little deep from here and then. So, as much as cancel culture is all about reform and calling out others to be better human beings, the reality is that it is a breeding ground for intolerability, mistrust, and virtue signaling. So, in an essay by The Tablet, cancel culture is an institutionalization of mistrust happening in our real time. So, as a society, this culture encourages people to grow more suspicious of one another, to rat each other out, at the next chance for a quick woke brownie on points online. And it's also an unsettling thought that anyone could suddenly be cancelled one day over a post they made a decade ago. So, often enough, those old tweets will be weaponized against the individual as proof of their problematic nature, even if they have matured and no longer stand by those values. Another example would be Kevin Hart, who we previously mentioned, has profusely apologized for the homophobic tweets he made, which is 10 years ago. 10 years ago, which is a decade ago, but has recently stated that he was done apologizing when netizens could not let it go. He quote unquote said, to the woke mob, a written or verbal apology is not merely enough. Cancel culture demands a full deplatforming of the individual itself. So a purveyor of cancel culture will say they are doing it for the greater good of society, right? But the danger in that is they become the self-appointed gatekeepers of social and moral purity. So they will decide what is offensive and what's not, which is quite ridiculous. So speaking on behalf of the community that is affected by it, even if said community doesn't have a problem with it. So we can be honest with ourselves and admit that we've all said or done things in the past that would now be deemed problematic, but we have unfortunately realized and changed for the better, where the same grace should be extended to those on their way to becoming cancel casualties. Cancel culture goes beyond finger pointing, and it's about how we choose to handle differing opinions, standing up to mob mentality and the unfairness of standards we hold others up to. So we need to normalize having different views and being able to talk about them in rational, productive ways. People should also feel like they can make mistakes without potentially losing their friends. Am I right? Not just that, maybe losing their jobs and their entire livelihood. So as a society, we need to practice self-examination, which is something the act of calling out lacks. Am I right? So humans are complex creatures who are basically constantly evolving. You're probably not the same person you were a year or even a month ago. Even if cancel culture is not going anywhere anytime soon, the mentality of good versus evil / right and wrong is not sustainable. Racial, political, and social divides still stand in our way, and the gap only seems to grow wider by the day. So, what we choose to retain as a society remains the most important matter. We must have trust in each other again and believe that those being cancelled still have the capacity to be compassionate human beings again. Because, face the fact, if we don't believe in each other, then who will? Thank you.